quick high five. That'll work.
Okay.
Okay. So now, what happens is we walk, we talk,
Yeah.
we get into it.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Do you have any concerns?
I mean, I can't like spill certainty.
Oh, you got some hot gossip, but you're worried
No, I
that
just
it
feel
might
like
slip out.
people always want to ask me certain things. So, but I'll have discretion. Of course. Is there? Well, I guess my question is like, I don't want to be shitty at this.
All right. That's a good one. Take two. You were worried about how to do this right. You got the cameras
Got
set.
the camera going. Yeah.
You're going to be honest. You're going to be open. But you're going to keep your hot goss to yourself until the camera cuts. And then you can tell me everything.
Yeah, maybe.
But the real question is, what are we doing here? And who are we with? And who's here and who isn't? Let's start with who isn't.
Yeah.
Where's Ben?
Not here. Never met him.
Yeah.
Sounds fake.
He might be fake. There's the Snuffleupagus in this episode. Ben Steinbauer is not here today, folks. But I'm here. I'm Keith. And to my right, please welcome this week's guest and soon to be professor of documentary film and history. Welcome, Courtney Cook.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Courtney
morning.
Cook. And then the little music plays right here.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
I like that music.
Oh, what's this?
Yeah.
And then we're into the episode.
On your left.
You're listening to Doc Walks with Ben and Keith. So, Courtney Cook. Who is Courtney? Well, I said last week at the end of the episode that this week was all going to be about impact. Courtney makes an impact in every conversation that she takes part in. At least as far as
Who knows?
just making an impact out there. And look, hey, that's what it's all about. But she also has a tremendous background in impact producing, in educational conversationing around individual documentary films and the world of documentary film. So for the last 7 years, you've been with POV. You're about to make a transition. So this seemed like a perfect time to chat with you kind of about where you've been, where you're going, where this world of documentary filmmaking has been, where's it going.
Sure.
But before we do that, I'm just going to swing the camera around and take a look at this.
Wow. Hi.
Look at that. That's Doc Walks guest Chelsea Hernandez. Future Doc Walks guest Tracy Frazier. Actually, you were on last year's AFS episode for 5 seconds.
God, I listened to that. You know what other one I listened to? I told you I listened to Modigliani.
Modigliani.
Twice to Modigliani?
Yes, because there were so many pearls.
Wow.
That's a good one. That was a really great album.
Okay. Anyway.
I listened to Chelsea's twice. Okay.
I was wondering where we're getting all our listeners from. The numbers just keep ticking up.
What a treat.
Have fun.
Thanks.
It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
So cute to see them.
Yeah. This is meant to be a conversation and not just an interview.
Right.
But I will ask questions.
Sure.
And but I'm going to start with Chelsea's question right there. What is your outlook on Texas filmmaking here at the beginning of 2026?
Are we talking docs?
Sure. We're walking docs. We're talking docs.
I mean, let's just like start with a really big question. I don't know. I feel like making predictions is a bit of a fool's errand right now. Trends in doc, outlook not great. For
our episode title.
Production, distribution. But you know, one thing I have been working in public media for the last 7 years. And I'm on the community advisory board with Austin PBS.
Nice.
And I do think that local public media opportunities are going to continue to exist. I do think for like indie doc filmmakers, considering, strengthening relationships with local station, Austin PBS is a great place to look for support, mentorship, consider your local audience, what stories are meaningful to us. That's not really an outlook on the future of Texas film. I know we got the big film incentive, but it seems like there's a lot of nuance in that isn't necessarily going to support indie doc filmmakers.
It's an exciting opportunity for the world of film in Texas, and I do think there will be a trickle down, if FX or HBO comes to town with like a big, $5 million an episode series, that doesn't necessarily mean a lot to an indie doc filmmaker.
Right.
But there are certain intangibles that having a stronger film community supports for everybody.
Yeah.
As far as like being a doc maker applying for the tax incentive, I'm definitely doing that.
Yeah. Good.
And I think we'll get some support. Where are we right now?
This is a cute little pond where the ducks live.
Where the ducks go?
And the bird watchers are. They're over there.
Okay, so we're in Mueller Lake Park. For fans of the show, we've been in this park before. We were here with Avril. We talked about Avril just a moment ago.
Cool.
And we were here with Sandy Dubowski. And now we're here with Courtney. So we started out talking about impact. You spent 7 years at POV.
Mm-hmm.
We'll jump to this side. And I was excited to meet somebody who worked on the side of the business that you do, because it's not something that the average everyday filmmaker has access to. And you had such a different view of our world because, what POV was putting out 13 episodes a year, 13 feature docs a year.
Yeah, and then a handful of shorts over the last few.
As a education consultant, impact producer, what was your role with those films?
I worked with film teams to have conversations around what communities they wanted their films to be in front of, and then I would work with librarians to get their films in communities across the country. Librarians rule,
Yes.
and they would create reading lists to support the film. So if somebody watched the film and was like, whoa, damn, I want to learn everything about this topic or community, then they had a long list of books they could read. I also hire writers, poets, activists, organizers to create discussion guides. Primarily, I was like producing resources to support, ideally, transformative dialogue within communities after people screen the films. Yeah, I guess like impact and education. I would talk on panels often about like ethics and power, but that's my pre-POV work, my PhD work.
So you grew up in Georgia,
Uh-huh.
you studied in Boston and here in Austin.
Uh-huh.
You got multiple degrees, a master's, a PhD. You taught in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So education, deep,
Oh yeah,
like layered relationship to education.
yeah.
And when you bring all that to documentary filmmaking, like what does that, like what do you focus on? What do you bring that somebody else doesn't, I guess? Because I know it's a lot.
A bad attitude. What do I bring? It's a curious question. Like pedagogy, the art of teaching, the craft of teaching, and how certain mediums open us up to allowing new perspectives or lessons to kind of land, My background was studying race and violence, and my first entry into storytelling was literature. I'm not really a film guy. I'm a humanities guy, I guess.
Okay.
But I was really interested in how fiction could support, like using historical fiction around collective traumas could support learning in a new way. Because if we're reading something that is like in the genre of fiction, we're not going to come to it with all of our defenses. We're not like, well, they're calling me racist or they're saying something that I'm responsible for,
It offsets
Sure.
your kind of defense mechanism with just like that veil of fictionality.
Yeah, just the genre itself. And, now I don't only work in doc, I like work across art mediums, I guess. And I think doc is one way.
Yeah.
Artful documentaries are one way to kind of maybe like lift the veil on certain things that people otherwise would either choose not to see or be hesitant to see, to explore their own complicity in, But documentary is just one way.
Yeah. Take me back 7 years ago when you first started at POV. Where were you in your varied career at that point? Like kind of what had been some of the highlights and what drew you to that role?
I was in my PhD program,
Which
and
was focused on
The PhD is in cultural studies. I got it at UT. It's in the College of Education. So my master's was in African American studies. I'm from the country in Georgia, pretty explicitly racist place, the small town I was from. And in my PhD, I studied white supremacist ideology and violence, dark, but also ethical relationality. And the cultural studies is really just like a study of power. So I was looking at all these different manifestations of power, systemic, historic, and maybe that's what I bring. People ask me to help them sometimes to have those kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
You know, like a critical combo or examination about power and in all the ways it shows up. So I was in the PhD program, and I try to be honest about how I started working with POV when I'm talking to younger people, or like, hell, not even like younger people, like if I'm in a mentoring role, because, you know, power and the illusion of who gets to make it, the things that make us feel shitty when we don't. My dad had died, and I had moved back to the Southeast to be closer to family, taken leave of absence, and I needed a job, even though I was still in the PhD program. So I started looking for jobs, and I found the job at POV. It was interesting, you know, like it did come full circle. I'd never really, like many people, heard of like impact producing, but I had been a teacher forever, and teaching rules. I love teaching. I'm super, super excited to be getting back to teaching later this year. And when I was in my last year of college, I had to take a final class, and it was literature in the civil rights movement. And in that class, the teacher played the Eyes on the Prize series in its entirety. And that completely changed my life. That was like, that class is when I was like, oh shit, I'm white. Why didn't anybody ever tell me this before? And that is like what sent me to Boston to learn more. Eyes on the Prize is also the first series on PBS that had an impact campaign. So it felt kind of cool and full circle to learn that. Yeah, it's a great series. It's a great show, historically super important, politically, culturally, socially. So I was happy to hop on board.
I love POV, and it was such a paramount. When I got started in doc filmmaking, I think I started around 2004. And really there was HBO docs with Sheila Evans, and then there was POV and Independent Lens.
Right.
And there really wasn't much else, at least that I was aware of. But when you stepped back and you looked at them, you saw narrow differences between what made an HBO doc, what made a POV doc, and what made an Independent Lens doc. And I think POV, especially back then when there were so few options, really started a lot of conversations, and was like a place that you knew you were going to go and be challenged.
Absolutely. And now I think, you know, I've worked with hundreds of filmmakers and supported a lot of films over the years. And now in this political and distribution landscape, you know, the big streamers aren't really going to take certain films that have a particular kind of political edge. You're taught that, like, somehow you make a film, and then the film is finished, and then you do your theatrical, or you do your festival run. And if you get into a festival, a big festival, that means you've made it, and that like promises distribution. And that's just not the case anymore. We saw that a number of times last year, like with Union, for instance. It won a lot of awards, but
yeah, I mean, last year's Academy Award winner.
No Other Land
found official distribution. They built their own distribution package, and I think they had a lot of success.
Right.
It can be kind of held up as like a success story, but I mean, they're starting with the most press you could ever generate in the world,
right,
for a doc, and they're still fighting an uphill battle.
Right, because at the end of the day, it is an industry. I mean, that's also what I try to tell filmmakers who are like, I'm an artist. I'm like, yeah, yes, and this is an industry, and it's icky. It is about access. It is about power. I just got lucky and got a job at POV. That's how it happened, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, also, I'm a teacher and I'm a producer. I'm very much like, when people ask me what I do professionally, I'm like, I'm a helper. I don't know. But I think that something that has become important to me is recognizing that the only way I've gotten where I am is because people gave me opportunities, and to try to spread those opportunities as often as I can.
You know, Ben and I started this podcast because we wanted to have more conversations we both kind of realize that there's not any one way to do this. There's not a right way to do it. There's not even a common way to do it. Everybody's kind of path is uncommon. And so you've now worked with hundreds of filmmakers as an impact producer and as an education consultant. What are some, and speaking to an audience, hopefully, of people emerging into this field, trying to figure out how to not just make a project, but make a career? Like, have you seen any commonalities with the view that you've had working with all the different filmmakers?
Career, I mean, I can offer things. I think that the framing of a career, right, like, that makes it challenging. It's like when students come to me and say, I want to get a PhD. Will you write me a rec? Then, like, out of a sense of ethics, I sit down and have long conversations with them about their mental health, their financial support, and try to be honest about the things that people do not talk about. Woo! I knew it was going to happen.
It is a windy day, and I'm hopeful that these little fuzzy things on the end of our microphones are...
We can turn around and then go that way away from the wind.
I think we should.
I mean, something I try to tell students when they're doing that is just like the reality is, because my PhD, for instance, was like, it was like political training, where we talked about power. Everybody's like a neo-feminist, Marxist, anti-colonial. These are the people that are training me. And yet none of us had like candid conversations about the material realities of student debt and like living with so little money or different positions. I was in PhD school with people who were new mothers, and I just think that like if I were talking to certain people now about like wanting to make a film out of this, or a career out of this, which I guess I will perhaps when I'm teaching at Texas State, it has to be a structurally attuned conversation.
Say more about that. What do you mean?
I mean that like if you're lucky enough to be born to a family and continue to have relationships with that family over the course of your life, and that family has wealth or money or particular types of identity privilege that will support you being able just to be like, I want to be whatever I want, then perhaps you could try to make a career out of documentary filmmaking. But then the question is like, can you make a good film? Like, are you a good filmmaker? Are you a good storyteller? And in what ways do you orient yourself to the world that we're all sharing? And so I think that if you basically like, if you're already kind of rich, maybe you could make a singular career out of documentary filmmaking. Or if you work in the industry, but also working in the industry, it's like you're working at public arts nonprofits. So you have to make choices.
And what if you're not kind of rich?
I mean, every documentary filmmaker I've worked with, for the most part, is really scrappy.
Yeah.
And I think community is important. I've never been kind of rich. I'd love to be kind of rich. I'd love to be really rich, actually.
Well.
I mean, there is something like, I think our experience really matters.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in kind of like a rough and tumble kind of way, and that has informed how I relate to the world and people in it. It makes me ask different questions. Like all of our experience kind of inform the questions that we ask and how we relate to the world. So I think there's a lot of benefits. I'm not saying that like really rich people can't ask good questions. Don't get me wrong, don't cancel me. But the historic track for making documentaries as an independent filmmaker, I think, and finding financial support was public funds through Corporation for Public Broadcasting, filtered through ITVS. Films get distributed on POV independent lens. This is like a classic historic way, particularly to support marginalized filmmakers or people from marginalized communities. And that money is gone, like actually zero. So these institutions which have historically funded are looking for money. People have stepped up, but it's a huge gap. So I don't know. When I hear questions about like the future of filmmaking, making it a career, as another kind of element of ethics, I produce films also, and when I'm talking to people, I talk about like labor practices, and producers often don't get paid until later. But we need to also, like, if we want to advocate for this industry as if it is a business and have this practice as if it is a career, then we need to also treat it and the people that we're working alongside as if it is their careers.
Right.
So
The problem, I mean, I appreciate all that. I don't know. I always run into some real problems when you get into this concept of like producers don't get paid because, you know, people who start restaurants don't get paid. People who
Right.
launch a fashion line out of their garage don't get paid.
Yeah.
Like, this is an entrepreneurial business.
right.
And so in a lot of ways you eat what you kill when you are above the line.
Sure.
And
You can always make a choice, right? You can choose not to produce. It's just oftentimes it's not your idea that you're pursuing. You're helping somebody kind of realize their idea.
and that's a good distinction. Yeah, when I partner with somebody, which I do on all my projects in one way or another,
Sure.
you know, the early conversations are unpaid because nobody's getting paid because there's no money.
Right.
But it becomes almost immediately a question of like, how do we find money, and then how do we put that money onto the screen and into our pockets, because this is also a job that we've created for ourselves.
Right. What I usually do, maybe because I have commitment issues or because I have too many projects at once all the time, I don't know, is like kind of do a 3-month trial, 2-month trial, consulting, producing. That's also for me to like get a sense of how the director works, like to see if they're like implementing values that are in alignment with mine before committing.
And what are you? I have a rock in my shoe that is
Oh yeah,
crazy.
You want me to hold that?
No, I think I'm okay. What are you trying to accomplish typically in a 3-month? I know every project's different and every beginning of a project's different, but in a typical 3-month kind of trial period, what are the benchmarks and the goals?
I mean, it depends on where the project is.
Yeah.
There's going to be different goals, but personally, like, I'm trying to just like ask questions, witness how they engage with participants in films and other people who might come on to collaborate. I'm trying to kind of see if they're very organized, if they do what they say they're going to do,
Yeah.
if they have clear visions, if they're open to feedback and to integrating feedback, if it's going to be more collaborative, or if they're looking for like, you know, a producer to just make money and manage the budget. That's not really that's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
That your strength.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of who they are. And I think that's actually something that we sort of miss in this industry. In the last few years, I think we've been asking, like, who are you to tell this story?
Yeah.
What is your relationship to this community? You know, what ethical considerations did you grapple with while making this? But oftentimes we forget to ask, who are you? And how do you operate in this world? Like, what is your relationship to power? How do you understand that? And I'm much more interested in knowing kind of like the qualities of a director's character, which 3 months isn't enough time to like assess a character. I'm not over here judging, but it's just kind of a goodness of fit trial for me.
Sure.
And then, you know, if I come on board, I'm not drawing money from the budget, right? Because now I'm the producer and I want to be sure that we have money in the budget to pay for any archival or sound mixing, like whatever we're going to need. It's just always going to be a real struggle. Nobody becomes a documentary filmmaker because they want to be rich. And if they do, that's a wild idea.
A model that I've applied, not consistently across the board, but we've kind of toyed with, is kind of a percentage model that just says, like, I'm always the director producer. And as a producer, you know, my responsibility is very project to project based on who my partners are, but I always have other producers with me. But I would say, like, for on average, let's say as a director producer, probably about 15% of every dollar that comes in is going to end up coming to me. And my key primary producer that I'm partnering with is probably going to get 10 to 12% of every dollar that's coming in. And we used to wait to the end to get paid, which discovered meant we weren't going to get paid, right? Like, we were going to become,
I mean, there's going to be negative.
we're just going to be the last investors in the
Yes,
project.
exactly.
And so now is just like every dollar that comes in, I'm just going to take that 15%, and she or he is going to take that 10 or 12%.
I mean, that's a good
And
model.
what's left is, you know, about 70, 75%. That's just still there.
Did you just say 6, 7?
Yeah. Let me take a second here and just point out where we are. So we've been walking around Mueller Lake. We're coming up on this tower, which is kind of like one of the old Austin icons. This whole neighborhood that lake, that pond, the streets we're walking used to be the airport here in Austin for decades. And this little kind of rinky-dink but beautiful mid-century tower was the air traffic control tower. This little tower used to be sitting in the middle of an empty space surrounded by runways, and now it's surrounded by a mixture of low-income housing and high-income housing, and swimming pools and trails and parks and dock walks, walking around. I just wanted to point
That's
it out.
nice, yeah.
I've mentioned before on the podcast that I do this doc intensive with AFS, and that's how I met Courtney. Is AFS invited you to join based on your experience with PBS, and we've had some feisty exchanges in that room.
Oh yeah.
This
Bad attitude, remember? I said it from the beginning.
I think we can meet each other sometimes, and I think it's harder. To get feisty in a one-on-one on a windy day.
Sure.
But like I think where some of our feistiness has come is that we have been representing kind of our own perspectives to a room full of listening, emerging filmmakers.
Right.
And wanting them to kind of see there's more than the perspective that they've brought into the room.
Yeah.
But there aren't easy answers. Like for me, there aren't easy answers.
Of course.
You know, as somebody, just demographically speaking, I just turned 50. I am like
In January?
in November.
Okay.
Okay, so not just, but
Are you Sag?
recent.
November
Yeah,
Sag?
yeah.
Oh, I'm a Cap.
Oh, there you go. We're pals.
Yeah.
I'm a 50-year-old white man who gets up every day and says, I'm going to go do this job that nobody's asking me to do, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know?
Cool. Yeah.
And so, to sustain that across multiple projects and multiple ideas and kind of straddling different corners of the industry, you have to be a little willful and you have to be a little bit kind of ego-driven, honestly. But you also, if you want to engage with this world, you have to be a listener and you have to kind of figure out like what's changing and why. And I think it formed that in me quite a bit. And like in ways you probably don't even know about, in like ways that, like kind of like linger sometimes, that I scratch at annoyingly at the edge.
That's right. I like to get on people's nerves and haunt them. That's what I would ask filmmakers. What do you want people to be haunted by when they see your film?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, so it could be a good haunting or a bad haunting, but just like a little rash. It'll go away, Easy questions aren't going to make for an interesting conversation. Like what I always tell students is, because people have a hard time not having answers. Yeah. And I've always taught classes that don't have answers, and that sucks for students. And it sucked for me. It sucks for me too still sometimes. But like the goal, I think, for me is to learn how to ask better questions. That's always the goal. And if we can ask better questions, then naturally we'll discover more. But so often I think we're taught like the goal in this life is to have the answer.
It feels like not only are we taught that in the capitalist society, right? Like those who have the answers or at least act like they do are the rewarded. But that's true in the documentary world too. Like yes, there are smaller and fewer grants. I hadn't applied for a grant in about 7 years, and this year I started applying for grants again because all the resources are tied up.
Why not?
And exactly. And I have been denied lots of grants this year, and it's been, what I expected, and it's been fine. And it's what I tell people when they apply for grants is like, don't bank on getting that money, but use that opportunity in applying for grants in answering their questions to figure out what your project is going to be.
100%.
And so even when I don't apply for grants, I still like apply that same matrix of questioning to my process, because if I don't, I will kind of skitter along without really knowing why I'm drawn to a thing, what I hope it can do, right? What it can be. It's just like a gut level thing for me. I think it's true for a lot of storytellers and filmmakers. It's a gut level thing. But when you apply for these grants, when you go in front of executives, when you go in front of PBS panels, pitch panels, like they expect and want you to have answers to a process that can only be answered by doing, that can only be answered by making.
Oh my God, yeah. It's kind of set up to be really frustrating. That's how I felt about my dissertation, which took like 4 years, was a book, was so intense. It was theoretically promiscuous. That's how I identify. And they wanted me, it's like a process of inquiry. I think that, it's good to have an I like the freedom of like orientation as a language, or like how am I turning to face this question now? How am I turning to face this question now? Or this story, or this part of the story, or this arc, you know, like that's interesting. And it allows a little bit of like playfulness and criticality.
Yeah.
If we like have the singular question and we circle around it and it changes our perspective on it. So I'm a writer, like I'm very good at writing. My background is in writing. I used to be a writing teacher. It is a strength. I feel like because I'm 41 now, I get to say that I'm good at something without feeling like I'm too high on myself.
You were always good at it, but now you can admit it.
Now I can say it, damn it. And you know, writing it's a craft, it's a practice, it's a process. So I think, you know, when it comes to like writing these grants and describing a film, it's very different than making the film. It's very different than cutting a film. It's very different than identifying selects. But you have to be able to just really sit with each project, which also should require sitting with yourself in relation to the project. And getting back to all these conversations we had about, you know, identity, position, power, relationships to the world and structures. In my view, it all is linked. It's all interconnected and exhausting. It's really tiring.
All interconnected and exhausting.
It's exhausting, yeah.
You know, in each episode, we look for like something that comes out of the guest's mouth as the title. Mm-hmm. And you said something a moment ago that, you know, it's everybody expects answers, or it's about tough questions. Mm-hmm. I thought, oh, that's the name of this episode.
Better questions.
Better questions. Ask better questions.
Better questions.
Ask better questions. Yeah. Courtney Cook. But then you said you're strategically. You were talking about your dissertation, it was
theoretically promiscuous.
Theoretically promiscuous.
Yeah, that's a phrase that people don't need to remember. That's just my own weird.
Theoretically promiscuous.
Yeah.
Courtney Cook. What does that mean?
So cultural studies as a field is a field that emerged in the UK because all of these leftists thought that separating disciplines like English, history, political science was part of a larger project of political domination. It means that I'm not like bound to sociology or bound to historical discipline or theories, that I'm using theories from like post-structural feminists, I'm using theories from Black Feminist Thought, I'm using theories from literary critique, and I have to kind of, well, when I was a practicing academic, which I'm not right now, I would have to kind of live across all of those. Yeah, and then legitimize and justify, which is a real pain in the ass when you're dealing with an institution. But in my opinion, it makes for more interesting thought, more interesting questions.
I like that. Theoretical, why can't I hold on to words today?
Promiscuity, baby.
Promiscuity. I feel like
it's like being a little theory hoe.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the kind of storyteller I am.
Yeah.
I don't fall into any one category, and there isn't any dogma that I subscribe to, but I'm happy to kind of pick and choose as I go.
Yeah.
We started out by talking about impact, and look, we've spent a good amount of this time, like we do on almost all of these episodes, talking about how fucking shitty it is right now, and how like the structures are falling apart in front of our eyes.
It's true.
The path is clouded and unclear. Mm-hmm. But are there silver linings?
Oh yeah, we are. Of course. Woo! I said it, my hat flew off. I mean, we are, the people are, the community is helping each other. That's it, we have each other. And, you know, before distribution, there were like community media centers that were sharing like documented movements and people in the community fighting for each other. And that's what we have. We help each other. This is a helping field. And if you're not approaching it with a helping spirit, that sucks. But I think I'm always really heartened by everybody's generosity.
Yeah.
And I try to honor that by being generous myself. And
I've seen that firsthand. I mean, that's how I know you, as somebody who's given days of their life to go sit in a little room with a bunch of emerging filmmakers and share what you know. And I know you consult on lots of projects. You've got some projects that are premiering at South by this year that you're involved with.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. These projects, so again, like I guess I'm also like a genre promiscuous. I'm an art hoe. I am producing an installation with MIT Open Documentary Lab.
Yep. Cool.
I'm the local producer. This is a project called Layers of Place. It's augmented reality projects. There's now 9 artists and 6 projects, but they're all kind of blending documentary, archival, etc., with like participatory engagement. It's like you hold up your phone and then, a good example would be when we were at the tower earlier.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The Mueller,
Airplane.
air
Traffic control.
traffic control tower.
Bingo, baby. Air traffic control. Like you could hold your phone up to it and then you could see what it actually looked like
Okay.
when it was built, and then you can look around and there could be like, it's just really, I love working with augmented reality artists because they don't have any boundaries in terms of their art making. Oh. Bye guys, sorry.
Look at this. Is that a little trail cam?
Oh yeah.
Like taking a picture of all the people?
Or maybe the squirrels that are eating their...
The birds. This is like a little bird feeder that was getting fed upon by, I'm going to call them finches.
Yeah.
We'll call them
finches.
Mueller Lake finches. And we interrupted their breakfast, but I interrupted your train of thought because I saw birds.
Love that.
So this AR project,
Yeah, it's called
how do people experience that? Like I love the example you just gave of like, you're in the thing, you hold up your phone, but like, how do you get in the thing?
Oh, well, in this case, these will be public installations, even though they'll be invisible unless you know they're there. And they're going to last after South by is over. The Open Documentary Lab, the collective I'm working with, they're called, it's not Art in Public Places, that's the Austin thing. I don't remember. The project is called Layers of Place. There's 6 different projects. It will exist across Austin, and then after South by is over, I will be working with some local folks, again, trying to like give these opportunities to local folks because it's fancy to work with MIT.
And how do you get that gig? Is like you just get a phone call out of the blue because your name is in the ether, or are you out like shaking the bushes looking for like what's next?
I'm looking for a vacation. It's because I have such a bad attitude and I'm so charming. I'm just kidding. People want to work with you if you've done good work and treated people with care in the past. And so I get work because the past work I've done, because people recommend me. I mean, basically in this industry, it's really small too. So we have to be good people or nobody's going to want to work with you. And the opportunities beget opportunities. And that's the reality. And that is why, maybe I don't have a ton of time right now, which is true. And maybe it's not paying a lot of money, which is also true. But the reason I really wanted to work with MIT artists, because I have such respect for them. They're incredible thinkers and creators. Their politics are on point in terms of how I understand political values. And because I want to be able to hire local people in the art scene, in the doc world, so they can have that CV line the next time they're applying for an art residency, the next time they're applying for a grant, or like work with nonprofits. So when they're applying for grants, they can get the money.
Let's hang here for a minute.
That gives me, you want me to sit beside you?
Wherever you want to fit. Yeah, sit across.
Let's here.
We are going to have a seat here at a little table at the park.
I'm out of breath.
This is a not windy space.
That's
Here
right.
too. Why don't I hold a shot on you and you hold a shot on me?
Like this?
Well, if you hit that little corner button in the corner, it'll turn around. There we go. And now you can turn it around.
Yeah.
Just to see your face. You see my face?
I see your face.
Great. Opportunities beget opportunities, you just said.
Yeah.
And I think that's the answer to a question about how do you build career in this industry, in this art form, because they're different things, but they need each other.
Yeah.
And people are calling you from MIT because you've got this POV background. POV was interested in you because you had this PhD background.
Well, my friend Augmented called me, and he and I worked at POV together. And POV used to have a department called POV Spark, which was non-traditional storytelling.
Okay.
And I, because my weird conceptual leaning brain, have always been really interested in just conversations with augmented reality artists or virtual reality artists. It really stretches my brain. And it can exist in the past, in the future, in real time. It's really amazing. Access is a question, but Augmented and I have become good friends and we've worked together before in the past. And so this was in Austin. They need a local producer for South by because they did an initial project at MIT with this install and now they're bringing it to South by. They needed somebody who was local, who was also really connected to community. And Akhmarat was like, I got a guy.
But that is also like, so it wasn't because you were a POV, like the line in your CV, but because you were a POV, you had the connection.
Opportunity, exactly.
And that's, you know, I always feel like when you were coming up, when you're a teenager, just a young person in this world, you always hear the phrase, like, it's all who you know.
Sure.
And most of us, I think, I interpreted it that way, and at least as a young kid, like, it's all who you know meant you needed to have, like, a rich uncle. You need to have a rich uncle who somebody owed him a favor, who was, like, deeply embedded in some world that you were trying to get into, and he was going to open up this golden door,
Yeah.
you know. And the reality is, like, every opportunity I've gotten, starting in college, came not from, I don't have a rich uncle, so I didn't have that.
Yep.
But they didn't come from some, you know, like shadowy figure smoking a cigar with access to a world. They came from somebody who was only like 2 steps away from me,
Right.
2 steps
Absolutely.
in front of me.
Absolutely.
And so like my first internship, I found out from a film student that I met at a keg party at UT.
Right.
And she said, I just interviewed for this job. And I said, I didn't even know they had jobs like that. And she said, oh yeah, there were 6 or 7 of us interviewed. And the next day I was the 8th to be interviewed.
Wow.
And I got the gig.
Right.
At that gig, I met, you know, somebody who worked there who said, oh, when this is over, my friend of mine's making a short film. We could use somebody to hold a boom pole.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's kind of how this industry works, right? Is like, the more you engage, the more you interact, the more you collaborate, the more opportunities come. And like you said, because somebody's looking for a guy, I got a guy.
Yeah.
I know someone. And so when I asked what the silver lining is and you said we are,
Yeah.
I do think like over and over again, what we keep coming back to is a question of community.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to be your rich uncle. I'm everybody's rich uncle. Just kidding. Not everybody's, but like, one of my intentions this year is to do less because I have been lucky because community, that after I had to transition last year from POV to becoming a consultant for POV and went freelance, that was scary, but I've been really busy. And it's because community. And so like this MIT gig, I love Akhmarat and I love working with Akhmarat, and I have a lot on my plate right now, but I said yes so I could be the rich uncle. Explicitly, like exclusively for that. And I talked to the director of MIT Open Documentary Lab and was like, this is why I will do it, but I need assurances that I can bring on local folks and give them these opportunities. And that if, you know, I'm applying for grants so I can pay people. Like I went to a state school. I couldn't do internships because I was working full time at my commuter college, and I didn't have parents that went to college, and I don't know, I didn't have parents that were like, you can be anything you want when you grow up. So the kindness of others and people giving me a chance, even if I'm a really non-traditional fit, which I usually am for everything, has, I guess, been why I've been able to like, I'm really lucky professionally, I think. I've been really, really lucky.
Yeah. No, a lot of that luck is earned. You know, I appreciate that. And I think maybe we all have to be really lucky. And even people born with every privilege and opportunity in the world still have to be lucky to kind of make it to somewhere in this area. But I want to give you a little more credit than just being lucky.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've certainly learned how to land on my feet.
Yeah.
There's something about coming up in the world the way that I did, and in the worlds that I did, I can land on my feet and or not give up, you know?
You have to believe in yourself, but it helps when other people believe in you too.
Yep, period. That's it. And that's what I mean by we have us. And I generally believe in people until I learn otherwise.
Yeah.
It's not only about like supporting each other, it's about a genuine curiosity about the other person. You know, artists are always like, wow, if it's like a visual artist, they're like, how did you make this? Or they're like getting close to the sculpture and then thinking about the mind of their friend. I think that's just phenomenal. It's a phenomenal way to be in relationship with each other. Just to be curious about each other and rooting for each other. What a world. I mean, it's a shitty world, but like what a beautiful world when we can treat each other that way and be lucky enough to have community kind of give that back to us.
I love that. I love that philosophy, and I've seen it in play. We're going to wrap up by walking back to where we started, but let's go ahead and swing the cameras back around, and I'm going to hit you with some lightning round questions that we ask just about all of our guests.
Great.
And
Hit me.
And so I guess, and I know you're not a lifelong filmmaking storyteller, but you are someone who obviously appreciates stories. So I'm going to ask you, what is the gateway drug movie that got you excited about this field, and or piece of literature, story, folktale moment?
Favorites are hard. I mean, my favorite novel is Their Eyes Were Watching God.
Well, but it's not favorite though. It's gateway, right?
Gateway.
It's first.
Gateway.
It's like, what's the thing that kind of blew your mind that said, oh.
Oh, I mean, that's definitely Eyes on the Prize.
Oh, there you go.
This archival work, yeah. I mean, it changed my entire life. It changed my entire life. It set me on this new trajectory. It started me asking better questions that I realized had never been posed to me and that perhaps I wasn't meant to ask. And then I think like a documentary film that I watch often and love is Hands on a Hardbody.
I fucking love Hands on a Hardbody.
Yeah. My daddy owned car dealerships in Georgia too, so oh my.
So I have had the pleasure of becoming friends with S.R. Bindler, Rob, the filmmaker behind that film. We've talked in length about that film and about adaptations of that film and different ways that story could be expanded on, grown. He's a neat guy. I really want to get him on the
Yes,
on the podcast.
that'd be cool.
He's LA based, but you saying that reminds me, I'm going to reach out to him today. And because I'm going to Sundance, I'm going to see if he's at Sundance.
Exciting.
Or see if he's coming to South by. We need to get Hands on a Hardbody.
Hands on a Hardbody in Austin, Texas.
That's right.
I mean, yeah, part of that is like the nostalgia from my childhood growing up around cars, trucks, salesmen. Wow, what a group of people.
Yeah.
But they raised me.
Yeah.
The guys in the shop, they raised me, And what are you excited to see at Sundance? That's my question for you.
I mean, to be honest with you, I barely looked at what's playing, and I doubt I'll get into anything because I don't have a badge or anything. But when I go to Sundance, I go to kind of greet the people. I go to, we started this podcast just about a year ago, and our second episode, second, third, and fourth, we recorded at Sundance.
Oh, fun.
We're doing that again this year. But Sundance is a calendar start to the year for our industry, and in a way, it's like a temperature check on like, how did last year go and what's this year looking
cool.
like?
You're going.
Well, kind of selfishly, just to figure out my own next steps.
I love that. You should try to get a press pass. What are you doing? Email. Try to get a press pass.
Well, they did not respond to us.
They're
We need
busy.
to follow up.
You need a press
My
pass.
guess is nobody there for Sundance is listening to this episode.
When I told my friend I was going to be on a podcast called Doc Walk, she was like, "What is that?" When they just get somebody who's a doctor and walk around the park and talk to them, which I thought would also be funny.
It's not a bad thing. We're thinking about having
Doc
a
Walk
spin-off.
Doc.
That's right.
Doc Walk.
Doc Walks MD.
PhD in this case.
There you go.
Doc. That's what she thought.
Well, Dr. Documentary is already an episode that we did with Paul Steckler, who, by the way, do you know Paul?
I don't think so.
He is one of the main producers of Eyes on the Prize 2.
Oh.
And he lives here in Austin.
Oh, really?
He is he was the chair of the RTF department at UT for many years.
Actually, I do know him and of him because of Ann Lewis,
Yes,
who you should definitely have on this podcast.
for sure.
Ann is just such a baddie.
Yes. Okay, we talked about a lot of stuff that is probably advice for an emerging filmmaker.
Sure.
But if you had to boil it down to one little fortune cookie statement, do you have a piece of advice for emerging filmmakers starting out now?
This is like film advice and life advice.
Yeah.
I guess hold on to it gently, Like, if we get too attached, I think part of the reason my heart gets broken less often than a lot of filmmakers I know is because I am not so particularly attached to the medium itself. There are a lot of magnificent and creative ways to tell stories. Sometimes a documentary film isn't the most effective way. As the world turns and we move forward, it is important to be adaptable and open to feedback and open to collaboration. Because we have to live. We have to live. We have to make money. There are material realities. It sucks, but we have to. So
Right.
I want people to feel like they can be a storyteller and that they are still a legitimate storyteller. If I'm a story, are we going straight?
Yeah, I think we're parked over there. I was just trying to figure out where
Okay.
that sound was and not walk right towards it.
Oh, yeah. Good thinking, Key.
Here, let's go. We'll go left and then right, and then we'll be done.
Okay. For people to think they can be a storyteller and. If I'm a documentary filmmaker and an Uber driver, I am still a documentary filmmaker.
That's right.
After
After 20 years of kind of banging my head against one primary medium to make one primary pathway for myself.
Yeah.
I finally come to realize that there isn't a primary path, and there never really will be. And my interests are too varied
Yeah.
to just kind of stay one path, even if it was cleared.
How does that feel to realize that?
It's liberating.
Yeah.
I mean, what's not liberating and what's not exciting is the alternatives of putting pen to paper or doing something just in audio,
Sure.
or painting, which I really am finding myself more and more drawn to as I get older.
Cool. That's cool.
Well, yeah, that is, but they don't offer any more financial
Sure.
stability or security.
Right.
And so,
But more access. Certainly.
You're talking to different
Much more
people?
accessible.
talking to different audience. Yes, you have
Yeah.
more accessible entry point, and there's different rules that you get to figure out and then break, and there's different audiences of people. You know,
Look.
hey, there you go. Take art, leave art, and love art.
One of the
Demands
films
this.
I'm slowly producing is about cattle mutilations.
Oh,
It's not really about. Wow, I love this.
tell me what we're seeing here.
We are seeing a little free art exchange gallery, a little gallery, I think,
Kinda
where
like
people, yeah, it's a mini gallery where you can like make a tiny art and put a tiny art in, and then you can take a tiny art.
Will you open that box?
Cute.
There's
Oh, yeah.
a little shot.
Have a look. It's a little gay gallery too. I love it. Cute.
This is perfectly scaled. I want to come here and shoot a little stop motion.
Do you know the Quay brothers?
I do not.
Oh, I love stop motion. And I love like puppetry. I love carving. I do a lot of like making with my hands, more analog. But the Quay brothers, they go by the Brothers Quay. Sometimes they're these identical twins. And they make the most beautiful dioramas, like exquisite, extensive, and then they make films in them.
Nice. Where are they based?
Famous. They're based in Fame. I'm not sure. The last time I saw their work was, I don't know where they live. Last time I saw their work, it was at the MoMA, and it was a long time ago.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to look them up. I have recently getting into stop motion. I've dabbled in animation, quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a professional stop motion gig
Ooh.
that literally starts today. We're making an articulated puppet, and we'll be shooting. And so in warm up to it, I've been making little stop motions with my son with little Lego.
Fun.
minifigs.
Yes, that's so fun. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, it's really
I signed
cool.
up for a avant-garde film class that I was supposed to start yesterday, but it didn't. I haven't taken a film class before, so I wanted to have at least a handful of like hard skills before I start teaching
Yeah.
university, so I'm not a total fraud. But we'll
So
see.
you're taking an avant-garde filmmaking class?
Yeah, it's all analog.
Where at?
Austin School of Film.
Oh, cool.
I'm really stoked to just be a student again too, to like show up and be like, oh,
Yeah.
teach me. No responsibility.
All right, well, talked about a lot of different things. What we didn't talk about that much, which we said we were going to talk about, is impact.
Oh, right.
We talked about you and the job that you had.
Sure.
But I guess to kind of wrap out our advice for emerging filmmakers.
Yeah.
What can an emerging filmmaker with a first project and not a ton of support take on?
Then start with local screenings.
Yeah.
I think that anytime you make a film about a particular community, you should honor that community by having a screening with that community.
Yeah.
DIY, grassroots approaches to screenings. A lot of filmmakers are turning towards that. Looking at art houses, places that you can host, being creative in the ways that you can host. Can you have a backyard screening? I mean, I think it's just much more of a DIY approach, but I also think that education distribution is always an option with distributors. And if you're not making money because like HBO didn't buy your film, then you want to have some kind of income, though it may be small, maybe it feels like symbolically significant. I think working with ed distributors who can make your film available on Canopy and maybe do some kind of outreach alongside of it to let people know that it exists. You need to let people know that it exists. And ask advice, mans and people. Like, if you're thinking about working with an ed distributor, you're like, shit, now I made this film, now what do I do? Nobody seems to want it. Email people and ask them to have a coffee and talk. Or ask people, if you're talking to an ed distributor and they're like, we work with hundreds of filmmakers, say, can I have the name of some of those filmmakers? Then call those filmmakers and say, what's your experience been with this person, like this organization? That's why we have networks and communities.
Connecting dots. All right, wrapping up on theoretical promiscuity. What are you excited about? It's January now.
Gosh.
You start a new gig in August or September.
August.
And so for the next 7 or 8 months, what's the world
Just
look like for Courtney?
really shuffling. I'm working on Cradle by Grace with Vanessa, the Ephraim film.
Okay, and that's the film about the jazz artist here in Austin?
Ephraim Owens, playing with the Austin Symphony Orchestra. That's happening through March and then maybe beyond. MIT Layers of Place artist, installs, Big Sky in February, but maybe also Outsider. Also going to be going to New York. And honestly, what I'm really looking forward to is perhaps trying to like have a month off. And I'm still working with POV, so like that's ongoing.
All right.
Hopefully I have a month off before I have to start
I
teaching.
hope you get a month off, but I also hope that while you're taking that time off, you're figuring out how to keep expanding your role as a producer even as you get back into academia, because I think you have a ton to offer.
Yeah,
And
and it counts towards tenure if I make movies,
well, I'm glad there's some reason we do it.
honestly.
Some value.
Give me the cred, baby.
Courtney, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For there.
Handshaking.
Okay.
Handshaking. Okay, all right. Off.
Okay.
Next week on Doc Walks, I travel solo to New York City to tour the offices of the Found Footage Festival with Joe Pickett. Joe was the subject of one of my feature documentaries called Chop and Steal. He is half of the duo that is the Found Footage Festival, a hilarious traveling roadshow that shows VHS tapes found in thrift stores featuring unusual people. He started as a documentary filmmaker and then turned into a comedian, the first to be able to say that on Doc Walks. Join us next week for my walk and talk with Joe Pickett.
Doc Walks is created, produced, and edited by my friend Ben Steinbauer of The Bear.
Hello. And my friend Keith Maitland of Go Valley.
Thanks for tuning in.
Follow us at Doc Walks Pod on Instagram, X, and YouTube.